Welcome, everybody, to the Conversa webinar series webinar for today. My name is Zack Jacob. I am the Marketing Communications Manager here at Conversa, and I am pinch hitting for McKay Allen, who is our usual webinar guru. So I hope I don't mess anything up too bad. Let me tell you just a quick little bit about Conversa, and then we'll go ahead and turn things over to Cassie Oumedian, who is going to take it from there from Hanapin Marketing. She's going to talk all about PPC, and she's the guru there. A little bit about Conversa, though. We are a call tracking and analytics company. Basically what we do is we help you know where your phone calls are coming from, whether it's from any specific advertisement, campaign, collateral, whatever it might be, and we track your phone calls back to that source so that you can attribute your marketing dollars accordingly. Then we take that a step further, and we will also analyze the phone calls that come in for you through our proprietary speech-to-text software and hundreds of thousands of algorithms that then analyze that text and tell you exactly what happened on the call, whether you had good leads or bad leads, whether you had conversions. So you know not only where the calls are coming from, but you know what's happening on those calls. And then our software also allows you to automate actions based on that call, whether that's updating your CRM or your marketing automation platform or your PPC with some integrations that we have. So that's just Conversa in a nutshell. On the webinar today, I want to let you know that there's a questions panel you should be able to see just fine on the webinar control panel. That's where you can go ahead and type in a question, and we'll get to those at the end of the webinar after Cassie's presentation. We'll just kind of let those accumulate and then get through as many as we can at the end. But just so everybody knows exactly how that works, go ahead and find that questions panel and just type in where you're calling from today. I'll kick it off here. We are from Conversa, anyway, is from Salt Lake City. And I am in actually a suburb of Salt Lake City called Draper, Utah. And Cassie is calling in from Indiana. Let's see, we've got somebody from Maryland, California, San Diego, sunny California. I'm jealous. I'm actually a California native myself. We got Florida, West Palm Beach, Florida, Cyprus, Europe. Wow, we've got people from all over the place. Tel Aviv, Kansas, California, Pleasant Grove, Utah. Welcome, just down the street. Grand Rapids, Michigan, Vancouver, Las Vegas, Phoenix, Chicago, Hamden, Connecticut. We are covering the globe with today's webinar, I would say. Cassie, I'm going to go ahead and introduce you real quick, and then we'll flip over the screen to you. Cassie is the Associate Director in charge of growth, if I read that right, for Hanapin Marketing. She's been there for almost 3 years, but she's an expert in the PPC field, having worked in PPC related roles for over 7 years now. Is that about right?
That's about right, yep.
All right, well, welcome to the show. I'm going to go ahead and turn the screen over to you, and I'll let you take it from here.
Sure.
And there we go.
Show my screen.
And there's your screen. We are seeing a lovely picture of your daughter.
All right, let me, wrong screen. 1 second here. There we go.
There we go.
Okay, 1 minute. All right. Thanks, Zach, for the introduction. And yeah, it sounds like we've got a great group here from all over the place today, so that's exciting. I'm actually based out of close to Ann Arbor, Michigan. So our Hanapin is based out of Bloomington, but I work remotely from Howell, Michigan, which is closer to Ann Arbor. So I saw there's somebody from Grand Rapids. So hello. And so a little bit about Hanapin Marketing too. So we're historically been a PPC agency. We're probably most well known for our blog, ppchero.com. I don't know if many of you have followed that before. We also have a conference called HeroConf. It's been all over. Last year it was in Portland. This coming year it's in Philadelphia, and we have a conference coming up in London here at the end of October as well. We focus on anything from PPC related to display to social. So we do a lot of anything paid search related within those and within that realm. And so today, what we're going to focus on is we're going to talk a little bit about how auction insights can get you 2 steps ahead of your competition. And yep, Zach already introduced me a little bit, so that's me. I'm also, I mentioned I'm going to be speaking at the Hero Conference in London. It's October 28th through the 30th. I've never been to London, so I'm super excited to go. If anybody's in the area or heading over there, I'd love to meet up and chat with you when I'm there. You can also, I'm also a blogger, a regular blogger at ppchero.com. And then you can also follow me on Twitter at Cass_Oumedian. Okay. Also, during the webinar today, you can send us tweets and questions at #ThinkPPC in your Twitter tweets, or use the webinar question box to send us questions. As Zach mentioned, we'll try to get it to as many questions as we can at the end of the webinar. So we got lots of good stuff to cover today. A couple of the items that we'll be touching on are, first of all, when to run the auction insight analysis. Then we'll talk a little bit about some of the different reports to help you identify your actual PPC competitors. And then we'll also take a look at decoding some of the auction insight key metrics. There's quite a few and they can get kind of confusing, so we'll kind of peel the layers back there and talk a little bit more about those metrics. We'll also analyze different segments to unveil your competitor trends. And then we'll also be looking at some tools for spying on your competitor content, and then covering a couple strategies for staying 2 steps ahead of your competitors. So following the theme of HeroConf, and I figured talking about competitors, that using our best spy tactics to see what our competitors are doing, I thought that we would use kind of a British spy theme as we're doing some detective work here to uncover some of who our actual competitors are and identify what are some of their different trends and strategies they're doing and how we can stay 2 steps ahead of them. So there'll be lots of spy themes throughout this presentation today. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is when to run an auction insight analysis. So a couple things when it comes to running an auction insight analysis. So the auction insight analysis report is available directly in your AdWords interface. It's pretty easy to use. You'd want to run this analysis, particularly when you're potentially entering into a new market. You're not really familiar with who the different competitors are, who are the players, just really like what kind of keywords to bid on, what kind of ad copy to use, and just anytime you're doing anything new like that, it's a really good time to run an auction insight analysis just to get a better idea of what's really going on in the auction space. Another time to run an auction insight analysis would be to, whenever you see some unexplained increases in spend or potentially a drop in impression share, whenever you're starting to see something where you can't really explain what's going on, you haven't made any drastic optimizations within an account, running this analysis will let you see if potentially there's new competitors entering the space, or they're getting more aggressive with their bidding, or so on and so forth. Another time you'd want to run it is if you want to monitor like brand performance and competition on your actual brand traffic. Potentially, if you have, let's say, maybe even affiliates that are bidding, you're using as well, and they're not supposed to be bidding on your brand terms. Maybe if you want to just keep an eye and see if they're actually bidding on some of the different brand terms, that's another reason you could be running an auction insight analysis. And then besides that altogether, if you're running PPC, I think it's important to run an auction insight analysis at least every 3 to 6 months just to identify kind of what's going on in the whole competitive landscape, getting an idea of where you fall as far as impression share, rank, top of page, all that stuff I think is important just to see where you fall, who is also competing in that space, and what kind of messaging they're running. There's several different ways you can pull this information. You can just export the report directly from AdWords, or AdWords now has their new report editor, and it's actually really great for using different graphs and charts to review impression share trends and anomalies in your account. So for example, here we can see in this count our impression share from basically May to June to August really started to drop off, and our costs basically stayed for the most part the same. So we might want to start to dig in and see kind of what's going on there. So some different reports to identify your PPC competitors. So here we're going to start with our Bond's characters. As we said, what's a better British spy than James Bond? So here are a few of the different James Bond characters. I think there's 6 over the years. Obviously, Connery's the best, though. Right. So taking a look here at the Auction Insights report, again, just looking in this to a little deeper, you can see that the actual Auction Insights report, it's a free reporting tool that allows you to see how your ads are performing against other advertisers who compete in that same auction. So if you're running an AdWords campaign, you'll have all this information at your fingertips. It's located either at the campaign, ad group, or keyword level under the details drop-down, and so you can either run it for all of your campaigns, keywords, or ad groups, or maybe just a selected few. So maybe you want to see either just as a whole across your account how things, who the competitors are, or maybe you just want to look at your brand keywords, let's say, and see if there's anybody bidding on those terms. With the Auction Insights, you actually are able, you can also run them for search campaigns or shopping campaigns. So if you are running this report at the campaign level and you want to running it for all of them, you will need to select either the search campaigns or the shopping campaigns, because there's different metrics available for each of those different reports. So after you've ran this analysis or ran that report, you can export it into Excel, and it will look something like this. It's just kind of your preference too. You can see this all information right in the interface, but a lot of times if you're an Excel junkie like myself, I like to have everything in Excel so I can kind of manipulate the data and look at it in different ways. And really the kind of key takeaway here is that this information where you can pull from here will really help you make strategic decisions about bidding and budgeting choices, showing where you're succeeding and maybe where you're missing some opportunities and where there's some potential new opportunities to improve performance. So as you can see here, for example, this client here has about 52% of impression share. However, we're only at top of page about 42% of the time. So this competitor 5, where they don't have as much impression share, when they are showing, they're showing above us about 85% of the time, and at the top of page about 78% of the time. So definitely, it's important to keep an eye on these things and then to dig into it a little bit further. So one way you can kind of dig into this a little bit further with Auction Insights is that you're able to now segment it by device and time. So you can take a look at your competitors. So it might look, for example, that you actually, so in this example here, it looks like this advertiser has a total of 46.96% impression share. So it looks like this client or this advertiser is winning the overall impression share. But after you segment it by device and take a look at it and drill it down a little bit further, you can see here that that's not really quite the story. You can see that this other competitor here, this example competitor.com, they actually, as far as mobile goes, have about 45% of impression share compared to the 40% that our client has where they only have 40% of mobile impression share. And you can also see that this advertiser, the example competitor.com, is showing again above about 55% of the time has a position above rate. So, there's definitely, at first glance, if you're just looking at impression share, you might think that everything's fine. But now that tablets and mobile and all that are all lumped in together, it's important to really make sure that you're actually segmenting it and seeing what the whole story is there. So, and quick note is that Bing actually has auction insights available too. So almost identical to Google in the fact that it's under, you can run it for campaigns, ad groups, and keywords. Same thing, it's available under the details panel, auction insights. Again, you can either select specific keywords or all keywords within there. The only difference for Bing is that I don't believe you're allowed to, it's able to segment by device for this one. So just something to keep in mind, but to let you know that it's also available in Bing as well. All right, so next we're going to take a look at decoding some of the key metrics for the auction insights. And here we got the guy, another James Bond movie here. This one was You Only Live Twice. So he said it was the most expensive looking Bond film of the Connery era. Good stuff. Now, taking a look at the Search Auction Insights KPIs. So we're going to break it down a little bit further and just kind of walk through some of the different KPIs. So we have the average position, which most people that are familiar with PPC know that's kind of where your ads are ranking compared to the other advertisers. The impression share, which is the number of impressions that you have received, divided by the estimated number of impressions that were available to receive. The overlap rate, it talks about how often the participant's ads received an impression when your ad also received an impression. So how often are you competing with these other competitors in that space? Position above rate, this is how often other participants' ad was showing in a higher position than yours when both of your ads were shown at the other time. So this kind of gives you an idea if maybe a competitor is, maybe their strategy is, showing at top of page in that position one or two, maybe you're only in position 3. So taking a look and seeing that, this will let you know how often they're showing, and it may be that you found that you get a better CPA, a better return on your investment, return on ad spend if you are in a lower position. So that may not necessarily matter as much because you may know where your better position is. But this metric here at least gives you an idea of where you're falling as far as your position in that auction compared to your competitors. Then also there's top of page rate. So this is how often your ad was shown at the top of the page above the unpaid search results. So within those premium positions, how often your ad is showing there. And then the outranking share, so this is the number of times that your ad ranked higher than a competitor's ad plus the number of times that your ad showed when theirs did not, divided by the total number of ad auctions that you participated in. So that one's a little bit more complicated there when you're looking at it, but basically it's letting you know how often are your ads ranking higher when you're in the available auctions against these other competitors. So I know it's kind of a mouthful, but I think it's important as we dissect the report that we make sure that we fully understand what each of these different KPIs mean. And so as I mentioned earlier when we were going through in the beginning part of the auction insights, that you could run these reports for just search campaigns or shopping campaigns. The difference is the shopping campaigns, it doesn't offer the same, the reason you have to select one or the other is that not all the same KPIs are available. So for shopping campaigns, when you run auction insights, the only metrics available are impression share, the overlap rate, and the outranking share. A lot of this is because some of the other metrics just really aren't relevant to shopping. You can also segment these ones by time and device in AdWords. And then also, this is a newer feature, so you're only available, you can only go back as far and get information as far as October 2014 to present. So there's a little bit of limitations there as far as the information that's available through the shopping campaigns. All right, so we have a new metric that we're going to talk about next, which is called the rank above share. So this was this metric we found to be really helpful in some of our accounts for really trying to understand who our actual competitors are. And our resident here at Hanapin, he's our resident Excel expert, Jacob Juice Brown. He's our Excel legend, and he, running some competitor analysis, came up with this metric called a rank above share, which takes your impression share times your position above rate. And so this helps you determine kind of this shows you who are the true threats to your traffic and positioning when you're comparing two date ranges. So if you wanted to see how your ad was comparing against another competitor from earlier in the year till now, let's say you've noticed that there's been some changes in the past month, you're losing some impression share, your CPCs are going up, but you haven't made too many changes. You want to kind of see what's going on. Using this metric allows you to kind of see what changes have happened and how and who actually are some of these true threats. So here's an example of how you would use this and how this works. So here in the example, we're looking at an account, a client where you're saying we're comparing two different date ranges here. We're looking back in April compared to August. And so we can see here that in April, competitor one there was not competing in any of the auctions. So you can see there in April there was no competition in any auctions at that point in time. However, in August, when you look at competitor one, they're now receiving, it looks like only 10% of impressions there. So you might think, oh, that's not a big deal. It's not that much impression share. But if you look at that, they're actually showing the position above rate 97% of the time. Then it's showing that 97% of the time they're showing above us. So what you do here is you multiply that 10% impression share by the 97% position above rate. You can see that the 9.7% of the time, we now have a competitor showing above our ad. So this was not above us in any of those options back in April. So this competitor wasn't a threat. Amazon, of course, is always a threat, and many accounts crossed anything there. But you can see that, in this example, it may look like it wasn't a real threat, but when you multiply and you look at how often they're showing above your ad compared to the impression share now that they have versus what they were showing in April, it's a threat to your account. So it's definitely 9.7% of the time it's showing above. They're taking impression share and showing above your ads. So now let's make a plan of how we're going to take back that impression share. So next, to do that, we're going to take a look at segments and peel back the layers a little bit more to see what are some of the different trends and what's going on there. And here we have Goldfinger with Connery as Jane Bond. So I've never actually seen this one, but I like Sean Connery. And so let's see here. We have, so here we're going to look at a little bit further to segment the information, kind of peel back these layers and see really what's going on here. So if you run your auction insights report and you segment by device and then by either month or week, whatever you choose to do, whatever the time frame that you're looking at, you can either export it all into, if you're not segmenting by campaigns or keywords or ad groups, and you're just dumping it all into breaking it out by the time frame, then you can just dump it into Excel and look at it that way and use different filters. However, if you want to pull in campaign and other information, it might be more helpful to pull it into your handy-dandy little pivot table there and then segment the rows by the date range and then pull in the different devices as far as computers, mobile, and tablet, and then get a look at the total impression share there. So by looking at this, what we can see, once you've exported the data and you've taken a look at it, You've got it all segmented. You can see, and I recommend, going back a larger date range, at least a year if you have that data is great because it kind of tells you a bigger picture as far as what's going on. And we can see here that in this account from August of last year to August of this year, our mobile overall impression share has dropped since year over year by quite a bit, but mobiles really had quite a decline there. From 92% of the auctions they were showing in back in August of 2014, it's now dropped to about 29%. So we definitely want to take a look and see what's going on here, because we're noticing this big drop in mobile. So once you've taken that information, you can actually throw it into a chart and create a chart to take a look at when, by month, all the different competitors that have come into the space. So there was a lot more competitors on this list. I was trying to, I know it still looks a little confusing even with the 6 or 7 that are in there, but using just to kind of get a visual representation to see how many more competitors are coming into the space versus, and what's going on here. So what we can see is we've segmented by mobile impression share by month, and we can see there that we're the blue line there that's highlighted in yellow, and you can see that basically it looks like starting at the end of last year, impression share really started to decline for us. And then you can see at that competitor 1, starting around the first of the year of this year, they really started gaining impression share. And you can also see that there's still a few competitors right here that weren't in the auction back when we first had the majority of the impression share. And you can see here that we've had several competitors that have started to enter the space that could be contributing to our loss in impression share. So after you've taken a look and you've seen what's going on there as far as where's our impression share gone, who are some of these different competitors that are entering the space, have there been more competitors that have entered in the last few months, you want to see is take another look and tie in actual campaign performance information to see how it's affecting your actual costs. So here you want to run kind of a similar report here. We're going to run a campaign performance report looking at mobile. And we want to see, using the same thing by device, time segments to see how the increase in competition has affected the performance. And so you can see here that the CPCs since about March have really started to creep back up, and our impression share has really started to decrease. And that falls in line with a lot what we were seeing back with the other competitor when they started to really pick up volume around that first of the year, and which could be causing our CPCs to increase. Now, we don't know if that's the whole story, but that's that definitely could be something that could be contributing to it. So again, like I said, as far as if you're seeing some sort of anomalies in your account where you haven't made a bunch of optimizations that could be causing this, and it just kind of seems unexplained, taking a deeper dive into looking at it as far as how it's affecting your overall CPCs and your impression share is really important. So here we're going to take a look at it a little bit farther, and we're going to take a look at that rank above share again that we had talked about earlier. So now we're going to take a look here, and we can see that we've identified several new competitors that have entered the space, but let's see who are our actual competitors. So we look at comparing February of this year to August of this year, seeing what's going on, and we can see here that competitor 2 and competitor 1 are the 2 main competitors for mobile that have high impression share and high position above rates since February. We can see there that competitor 2 back in February wasn't in the auction space at all, so they weren't really competing. There was no information on them for that month. And then we see in August that they now have their rank above share is about 21%, their impression share is at about 40%, and the position above rate is about 45%. So they're definitely a threat to our advertising program on these terms for the mobile space. We can also see that competitor 1 here has, they were advertising back in February. However, their impression share in August has since increased. Their rank above share is increased because of that, and same with their position above rate is increased from 94 to 97%. So while it's a small change, about 6.6% from that time period, that's still definitely a threat and something to keep an eye on. So next, we're going to take a look at a couple tools for spying on some of your competitor content. And so while there is many competitor tools out there that you can use for these type of competitor research, we're going to focus on just a few of the tools that I've had some experience using that offer more of a free trial, just so you can get in there and try things out. Obviously, if you want a lot more, and these are just limited information that's available through it, if you want a lot more comprehensive information, you really want to put a really solid competitor strategy together, you may want to opt in for the more paid full version of these to get more content. All right, who do we got here? We got 007 Tomorrow Another Dies. So we have, this is the second one to star Pierce Brosnan, released in 1997. So I thought this would be a kind of another good segue to talk about, again, some of these different competitor tools here. So the first one we're going to take a look at here is Spyfu. And so Spyfu, again, they offer a paid version and a free trial version. What we're looking at here is just, this is a competitor that was competing against one of our clients for European or flights to Europe. And so what this shows is when you go to Spyfu, you can type in basically the domain. It'll give you an overview of basic stuff about what's going on with their online advertising. I found that a lot of these competitor tools are they tend to be, I definitely use the information with a grain of salt. It's better just to kind of use it to get an idea. I wouldn't hold any of the numbers, especially some of the free versions there, to live or die by. It might even be worth just for you to get a better idea as to look at an account where you actually can see what the actual spend is and what the keywords are, just to get you an idea of how it's performing against each other. I found that a lot of what it says that they spend and things like that seems to be a little bit lower, and that's typically just because they're not catching every single auction, so they're only getting a few of some of the auction space. So probably the most accurate information you're going to get is from the auction insight stuff, but you can't get, with auction insights, you can't get an idea of what CPCs are or what different ad copy, maybe what landing pages are using. So this is why these competitor tools really come in handy for digging in a little bit further to see what's actually going on with in the competitive landscape. So with Spyfu, you can see here there's several different options that they offer. You can look at, you can just get your PPC overview. You can take a look at who are some of the different top ad competitors. Their combat one basically lets you compare, let's say, your site versus another competitor, see how the two of you are competing against each other. You can get an idea for some of the different keywords that your competitors are bidding on. Take a look at some of the different ads that they've ran. When was the last time they've when was the last time they've changed the ad copy? All that information you can get at least a bird's eye view of it with the free version. I think it's only limited to a couple keywords or a few ads, and then you may need to opt into the paid version, but at least can give you enough to get started. Like I said, I think this one ranges anywhere from, if you wanted to do the paid version, I think it ranges anywhere from $49 to like $1,000 a month, depending on how much information you need and how many different accounts that you would have on there. A couple limitations that I found with Spyfu is that it doesn't seem to offer, while there's a lot of information out there, it doesn't seem to have as much coverage as far as different countries that it can pull information from. It seems to only offer information for AdWords, so it doesn't seem to give any information for Bing, Yahoo, or anything as far as display or social or anything else. So again, as I mentioned, these are great tools just to get an idea of what the overall landscape is. But again, not to, let's say, hold your breath as far as how much each of these are actually spending, because it's only pulling in a portion of the data there. So another tool that you can use, and these are all kind of similar tools, so you could really use any of these tools. I'm just kind of going through a couple that I've used and kind of talking about some about the pros and cons of each of them. But there's a ton of other ones out there too. So for SEMRush is another one that's out there. This one actually has a lot more coverage for, especially if you have a lot of global people listening in today. This one seems to have a lot more coverage as far as across other countries. It covers up to 25 countries. And it also takes a look at, I think it still focuses primarily just on Google, but you also have the ability to take a look at PLA information, so you can see how ads are performing across PLA. They also have video information, but that's still in beta. And they also had social and display, and those were also in beta as well. So you can take a look and kind of see how, not just across search keywords now, you can also take a look and see how these competitors are, what messaging they're using, seeing if you can get any ideas of spend trends as far as everything across search, display, PLA, and even social. And it looks like this one, like I said, again, there's still a free trial, version of it. But it looks like the pricing ranged anywhere from $69 to like $550 a month, depending on how much you use it. It looks like you can also segment this one for desktop and mobile. So definitely some cool information here for SEMRush. Another competitor research tool here that we have is Icebeam, and this one is a cool tool as far as they cover not just Google, so you can take a look at Google or Bing, Yahoo, and kind of get some more information to see if what's going on. So maybe you found that competitor 1 or competitor 2 that was eating up all that impression share. That maybe that was just in Google that you found that out. So maybe you could take a look and see that they may not be having as many keywords showing up in Bing, Yahoo. So maybe the space is getting a little bit too competitive for you to be profitable for mobile on AdWords, but you see they don't have much keyword coverage in Bing. So potentially that could be an opportunity for you to grow your business on some of those keywords in a different platform. They also had some cool tools where you can actually set up an alert to email yourself when a competitor has added a new keyword or ad copy. So that was in the paid version to do that, but I think that's a cool tool if you really want to stay on top of, if you're in a really competitive space where people are changing maybe pricing all the time, or you're really competing heavy with some of the other accounts. That might be a cool feature to use to help you stay above your competitors there. Some limitations here with Icebeam, it looks like it only offers coverage as far as in the US, Canada, and the UK. So there's a little bit of limited coverage as far as regional, where you can pull the competitor data from. One other thing that I thought was pretty cool about Icebeam that I didn't see with some of the other tools was that it actually allows you to be able to take a look at your competitors, actually at their competitors' landing page, so what destination URLs they're using. So this is really important, especially if you're doing some competitor or some landing page testing. So you can, by running this, you can not only see what ads your competitors are running, but you can take a look and you actually see what landing page they're sending them to, what types of offers that they're running on that landing page, different formatting, if they're using pictures, different colors, all that. So it's really offers some good information, and if you're keeping track of it, you could even give you an idea of how often that they are doing some landing page testing. And then also, so the other tools that I've mentioned are really great because they kind of pull all that information together in one place. So you could, as far as the AdWords Preview tool here, if this is another tool that's available through just directly through AdWords, so if you want to see how often your ads are showing up and who the competitors are showing up within those auctions, you could use the AdWords Preview tool and see who else is showing up. You can get an idea of what type of ad formats they're using. Are they using rating extensions? Are they using call-out extensions? You know, what different types of ad formats are they using when they're showing up? So this may be a little bit more accurate, so you can actually see what's going on, but it's a lot more manual, because then you're going to have to go through basically every keyword and type in those specific keywords, and then see who those advertisers are that are showing up. So the other tools that we've mentioned, well, the AdWords Preview tool is great, free tool, definitely if you want to see on a specific term at that moment who's showing up. It's a great tool to use. It doesn't count against any of your impressions, or it doesn't skew data at all. However, again, like I mentioned, it can be a pretty manual process. So those other tools will kind of roll everything up. So in one place you can take a look at your keywords, your landing pages, across different platforms and different countries. So you have a lot of information all in one place, whereas if you were to try to do this manually, it could take up a lot of time. So next we're going to talk about some of the strategies. Now we've done our research, so now we've got a lot of information, we've got it all together, kind of have an idea of what's going on, who are real competitors. So now that we have this information, we need to come up with what are these strategies for staying 2 steps ahead of our competitors. And here we got Casino Royale with Daniel Craig, our last Bond guy for today. So the first thing that we're going to talk about before we actually get into a couple of these different strategies is that it's really important that now that we've taken all this information about your competitors, you want to take a look at your own program and see what are your strengths and weaknesses and how are you stacking up to these competitors where you've now identified who actually are your competitors, and see how you're stacking up against them. And what are the different gaps in things? What are some things that maybe you don't offer that your competitor does, and really just kind of take a more holistic view as far as what's going on within your own account compared to your competitors. By doing this, it'll allow you the information to kind of hone in and let you know where to focus your efforts. So, for example, if you know that you offer the best prices, that might be something that you want to focus on, but you may not want to talk about your shipping because you don't offer any free shipping or anything like that. So again, it's just important to kind of take all that information that you've done with the research and break it down as far as what's your strengths, weaknesses, and threats. And so once you've done this, you can take a look at, you want to kind of break it down to, again, figure out what your actual value proposition is there compared to some of your different competitors. So let's say from doing our research, we can see that we offer a better product than our competitors. So, and neither competitor can demonstrate that they have a higher quality product. So that might be something that we want to advertise, is that we have a very high quality product compared to other competitors. You know, that this may not always be as easy the case to you. So let's say even if you don't offer the same, maybe you don't offer as good many options as some of your other competitors, you can you know, kind of hone on one thing that that you offer that's better than your competitor, or maybe one specific thing that's on your site to really kind of play up that competitive advantage. So, for example, as we can see here, looking at our site and what we offer compared to our competitors, so we have a high quality product. We also offer free shipping. The other ones offer free shipping, but one's only free shipping over 75, and the other one doesn't have as high a quality product as what we offer. So really, again, now by doing all this information, we've determined that now we know who our competitors are. We know that our top value proposition is that we actually have a higher quality product, and we offer free shipping. So we know that competitor A may offer lower prices in their ad copy, so we want to make sure we really are playing up some of the things that they don't have, like a higher quality product and just free shipping. And so a couple of different things that you can do as far as a strategy for, now that you have this information, as far as some different strategies you can do. Gmail sponsored ads actually just rolled out. It's been in beta for a long time, I feel like, with AdWords, and they recently just rolled it out to everyone. So it's available directly in the AdWords interface. And this is one option that you can use to actually target competitors' keywords and their domains directly to users in their Gmail. So you can use info from the competitor research to determine ad copy to entice users that are higher in the funnel. So, for example, if you offer that free shipping and your competitor does not, that might want to be you target that competitor keyword or domain, and then use that type of messaging in your ad creative. So as far as how Gmail sponsored ads are set up, like I said, they're still fairly new. Well, they've been running in beta for a long time, but they have been rolled out across, I think, across all accounts. And so how they're set up a little bit differently from the beta format is that they're all now set up. You can see all performance directly in the AdWords interface. At one time, there was a different platform that you had to use, but now it's all available in the AdWords interface. You set it up as a display campaign. You'd create it, the Gmail sponsored ads, and you'd set that up using in the directly the ad gallery tool. And so, and then what you can do is you can actually add competitor contextual keywords or target their specific domains. And then really that's all you need to do to target some of these different competitors. And it allows you to track Gmail saves, forwards, clicks, clicks to the website, and conversions. So as you can see, these are some of the different metrics here that, aside just typical conversions, these are some of the other different metrics that you can also track in Gmail sponsored ads. And a couple other options that you could do too that have been successful. You can always set up just a typical competitor campaign, which is always a good strategy to use. You just have to be careful sometimes if you are targeting specific competitor domains. If they're not already advertising on your brand terms, it's pretty certain that they may end up bidding on your brand terms. So just be cautious of that. By bidding on other competitor terms, that it could open the floodgates to them bidding on your brand terms as well. And then also to help bring down the cost, competitor campaigns can be pretty costly sometimes because they don't have as high of quality as some of the other, because there's not as much relevancy, so they may not have as high of quality score. So you can also layer some of these competitor campaigns with marketing list ads for search. So that could definitely help bring down the cost there and help reduce the CPA. It will potentially limit the volume there too. So just a couple things to keep in mind there. So another strategy that you could do to stay 2 steps ahead of your competitor is the target outrank bid strategies. So this is another tool that's available directly in AdWords. And so what it allows you to do is you can actually create, again, let's see that you know what your competitors are, and you've identified who they are, and you want to show up above them. So you can actually set up a bid strategy called the Target Outranking Share, which will automatically set bids to help you outrank other domains, domains in the search results. So definitely, if you know that there's one competitor that you always want to stay above, you can you would set up this bid strategy, and you can apply it at the campaign, the ad group, or keyword level. And here's a little bit more information about how it's set up. So as you can see, again, under your bid strategies there, it's called the Target Outrank Share. You just type in whatever the domain is that you want to outrank, and then you could set whatever your Target Outrank Share. So definitely one thing to keep in mind is that the higher the Target Outranking Share, the more you'll spend. So if you really have some, deep pockets here, you definitely, if you set it to like 100% or something, it's going to continue to be bidding up and up and up. So just something to be cautious of there. And then you can set up your bid automations for automatic, which is AdWords would automatically raise or lower the bids to meet the target, or manual, where you would set the bids to do that. And then definitely keep an eye on that max bid limit, which is really important to use, because the bid strategy will adjust the bids as needed to outrank the ads from the other domains. And so you want to make sure that you have that set. If you are using your enhanced CPCs, it can still go about 30% above that. So just something to keep in mind there to kind of help keep your costs underway, is to really limit what you're setting your max bids at. And that's it. You could talk for 51 minutes there, so we can pass it back over to Zach, and you can have a little bit of time for a couple questions.
Yeah, thank you. That was great. A lot of great information there. I didn't realize how many different PPC tools there are out there. There's quite a few. We do have a couple of questions that came in while we were listening, so I'm going to grab a couple of these here. The first question came in, and I'm going to do the best I can with this. It says, isn't 10% share usually under less than 10%? I'm not quite sure what he means by that, but does that make sense to you?
Yes. Yep. So impression share. So if an advertiser has less than 10%, it'll show like the less than 10%. So if a user has anything, if it has, let's say, like 9%, or if it has really low impression share, almost zero, it'll show the greater or less than 10%. So there still can be some impression share that has 10%, but if it's fewer than 10%, it would show different with the less than 10%.
There you go.
Okay.
All right, great. We move on to the next question here. Are Auction Insights reports retroactive?
Retroactive as far as, they're retroactive as far as you can go back. So it would pull in the information. You change the date range and go back. Like I said, the shopping ones only go back as far as October 14th. But I think if you're saying like if numbers have changed or anything, it would update every time you've ran it. So you can go back over, I think Auction Insights, you can go back, I'm not sure, I know it's farther than October 2014, but you can do a longer time period. But if the numbers have changed anytime over that period, it could change. So definitely the numbers can change each time you run it. So, but it can go back farther than like over a year, 2 years, even if you wanted to take a look at it.
Okay. Just gonna fire right through these. Next question here is, other than Google, what are the best places to get certified for PPC? That's a great question.
Yeah. So you can get certified. So there's you can get certified through Bing. As far as a certified PPC and Bing accreditation program, I believe it's called. You can get certified through analytics. So Google Analytics is a separate certification outside of Google. And actually within Google now there's multiple certifications. So you have your typical exams, but there's also one for mobile and there's one for shopping as well. So I think those are the main ones that I'm certified in anyways.
That's a good that's good enough for me as far as credentials go. Next question is from our very own sales guy, Mark Asensio, asked, how about keywordspy.com?
Keyword Spy. I haven't used that one before. Definitely won't.
Okay.
Like I said, there's a lot out there. I didn't trying to keep within the time frame that we have, and I just touched on a couple that are out there that we've used previously. I know Ad Guru is another one that I've used before, which is a great tool. It's pretty expensive. I don't know if they offer as many free tools, but yeah, definitely. I'll have to check that one out.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay, one last question here, and the question's from Chris. He asks, what % of small businesses manage their own campaigns? And maybe you might want to also throw in there, at what point is it worth it to have somebody managing it for you? At what spend level or whatever the criteria might be?
It really just depends on what your capacity, I would have to say, is through, the capacity that you have within your business. So for example, like Hanapin is an agency, we work with small business accounts, which spend anywhere from maybe like $5,000 a month or less. Or I think it's like $10,000 a month or less are considered our small business accounts, and anything maybe above like $15,000 or more a month are considered more the enterprise level accounts. So, and we have account managers, so there's different structures for each of those. That's kind of the range of what we manage. I guess it would just, again, I would say have to depend on kind of how much you plan on spending per month, and just what your capacity is and your knowledge is for PPC. If you've taken some time and you've done your research and you really got a good grasp on how it works, and maybe you're spending less than $1,000 a month, it might make more sense for you to kind of manage that in-house. If you're spending more than $10,000 a month in PPC, I think it's probably in your best interest at that point in time to start looking to other agencies to offer a hand, because they can get very neglected if you're not in there making changes and making optimizations, and accounts can become really stale and kind of stagnant if you're not in there. So definitely, and it gets time consuming. So especially the more you're spending, the more keywords, the more you're building them out. Definitely worth maybe taking a look at an agency.
Great. Well, I believe that is all of the questions that we have so far. Oh, wait, here's one more. Oh, I like SEMRush better than Keyword Spy. So there you go. One last comment. Just rolled in. But we will go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you so much, Cassie, for that presentation. It was great. And if anybody has any questions, feel free to email Cassie. The email address is on the screen there, Hanapin Feedback Marketing at hanapinmarketing.com. Questions on Conversa, you can email me, or you just email marketing@conversa.com, and that will go to our marketing team. That will include me and McKay, who would normally be handling this, but he is not available today. So we'll just go ahead and wrap this up, and thanks again so much, Cassie, for your presentation, and everybody for attending. And we will get this recorded. It will be available on Conversa's website, and I believe we'll share it as well as we can. I'm not sure exactly what the process is there. All right, thanks everybody.
Thank you.
And have the rest of a great Tuesday.
You too. Thanks.